Hey guys, welcome back to Get Naked, episode number lucky 13.
13, baby.
Yes, I'm Erin Plott, and this is my strong hand,
Dominique Thomason.
And we have a guest for y'all today, the fabulous and absolutely always delightful Stephen Morris.
Thank you.
Stephen is, he's with GATLIC Group, which here locally in South Carolina is a credit card processing group, and he definitely gives the local flavor when doing all of those things for people, and he's absolutely phenomenal. And we've known each other for quite some time now.
Yes,
I feel like.
Can I say something? That's
Sure,
that's the best introduction I've probably ever had in my life.
That's the best one you're gonna get. Period.
Kudos
you're
to
like,
you. I owe you $50.
And we're done.
It. And that's all for today. Lucky 13. I made $50.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Well, so we are in episode 2 of our mental health series.
Okay.
So if you listen to the last one, you know, we were talking a little bit about how, you know, pain, and actually we didn't really get that far into pain. We talked a little bit more about like depression and anxiety and how that can have physical manifestations in your system, and how massage therapy can help with that. And, you know, we brought Stephen on board because 3 years ago now, Stephen had quite the situation that he was in, and I'll let him tell y'all about that. But we're going to talk a little bit about like how that affected him long term, and how, you know, we've been able to kind of help his journey of coming back to you know, delightfulness,
some sense of normalcy. Yeah,
I don't know, was it ever really normal?
Yeah, you're right. We just came back to whatever it is.
Oh my goodness. So tell us a little bit about like just what happened in general,
Sure.
like as in depth as you want to get. I know
Sure.
it's like medical stuff.
No,
so,
no,
yeah.
I'll release my HIPAA stuff, no problem.
Like I will sign that
I will
document.
sign that,
We're
yeah.
good.
I'm not ashamed of my story.
I like it.
But before we do that, I just want to say I'm a fan of the show. I listen to you guys all the time. So for those of you that are listening for the first time, I would definitely put this on my subscribe list.
Oh, I feel so flattered.
That's
right.
I'm just like,
No,
that's right.
and this is my first time in this room vertical.
I know. He's always in here on the table.
Yes.
And like just before we started filming, he was just like, so this is what it
I'm
looks
like,
like from
oh.
this
I'm
angle.
used to
Like,
being-
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's true. You usually are. And clothed.
Yes,
You're
and I have clothes on,
Like
yeah.
Normally you're not
And
clothed,
then y'all call the
so.
podcast Get Naked. So
Right,
I'm like,
so,
but that's
yeah.
an
Oh,
oxymoron.
it's-
I've got
Yeah,
clothes
that's
on.
always my thing. I'm like,
First
are
time
we
we
supposed
did
to be
it,
naked?
Dom's like, wait, you know, and I'm like, put your fucking clothes on, Dom. Like, it's not that kind of show.
Dang, no.
She's like, damn,
It's my kind
you
of
know.
show.
But to kind of chime in with what you said on the what situation that happened to me, for those of you who, my name is Stephen Morris, as Erin said. I'm just super happy to be on here today because I think it's important that we talk about situations where people go through tragedies in life. Life is a curveball. You know, sometimes you get things that will throw you off your game.
Yeah.
So my story is kind of simple. 2020, in the midst of COVID, I had heel spur surgery, and that's a normal surgery.
Yeah, we have a lot of patients who have that.
You know, normal surgery, and it went horribly sideways. The doctor, who I will not say his name, he sent me home, and I was, of course, like I said, it was COVID, so everybody was home.
Right.
But he sent me home without the compression sleeves because you're off your feet for 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And so if you don't move, you get a tendency to get blood clots. Well, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
And so I got a blood clot in my leg, went into my
Hold
groin.
on, I gotta say, this was not just simply a blood clot. This was probably one of the biggest blood clots I have ever heard about.
Yeah, I had a golf ball sized blood clot in my lung. I had a pulmonary embolism. And so I'll never forget, told my wife, I was like, hey, you know, something's not right. And you know, most guys, we're kind of soft when it comes to being sick. And so my wife, I think I wore her out, and she was like, "Oh, Stephen, just buck up, get yourself together, you'll be fine.
Suck it up."
And I was like, "No, something's wrong. No," and like I said, I wore her out.
Yeah.
Right.
And then so when it finally got to the point where we went to the emergency room, and I'll never forget, they were like, you know, you see they do the scan and everything, and she's like, "You were really sick! Oh my God!"
I could totally see her losing it. Like, totally see this.
So I still kind of milked that situation.
Of course
with my
you do.
wife.
Of course you. Who wouldn't? You know.
Shout out to all
When
the
Eric had
husbands
his
out there.
when Eric had his hernia surgery, like when he did his umbilical repair, like he was like, "Oh, I gotta go to work." I was like, "You gotta shut up and lay back down because I'm sick of your shit. I'm gonna like dose you with more meds. Go to sleep."
There's two type of guys, and guys, I'm sorry, I'm letting your secret out. There are guys that will try to work through the pain. Those are your military guys, your He-Man,
Right.
your rah Conan the Barbarian guys. They're gonna try to do it. They're gonna fight through it just because they don't want to let you see them weak.
Right.
But then there are guys like me,
Who's like,
who I'm
"Baby,
going to milk it.
100%."
Oh, my throat is parched. Meanwhile, it's my foot that's hurting. That's me.
Ice chips,
That's me.
please.
Yes,
You
please.
know, like I can't.
What are you making for dinner?
I can only imagine.
I don't like it with the cheese on it. That's me. I'm that second guy. I'm not the Conan the Barbarian guy.
I don't know. I get so bored. Like I had the hysterectomy in March, and we talked about that, and I get so bored after like 48 hours. I'm like, get me out of this room. Get me out of this bed. I can't stand it. I can't poop. This sucks. Like, you're just like, oh, this is terrible.
Like, help me.
And like my back hurts and all this stuff. And I'm like, is it constipation? Is it just my back hurts because I've been laying in the same position for the last 8 years, And that was something that happened. Like, I remember you telling me, like, when you were still like kind of on your whole recovery thing. First off, he almost died.
Yeah.
Like, he's downplaying this a little bit and being like, I milked it. Well, you deserve to.
Because
you almost died.
Well, the funny thing is, when it was happening, before we knew it was a clot, I just thought something was wrong with my leg because the surgery's on your heel, so your heel is already in pain.
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is swelling. This is part of it, lymphedema. Like, I'm like, something's up with my leg. And so when it got to my groin and I was having problems using the bathroom, that's when I was like, okay, this is serious.
Like,
right. Something's not right.
Right.
And I want to put a pin in this little side note right here is that you got to listen to your body. Like
100%.
We were just talking a little while ago about people that, they won't take a day off from work. It's like, oh, I've been dealing with this issue and I just won't go to the doctor or I won't go to urgent care. You got to take care of your body. This is the only body you're going to get. There's no trade-ins, right? That's right. So I knew something was wrong when I was having problems going to the bathroom. So we finally went to the doctor, and I remember we went into the Lexington Medical Center urgent care, and those guys saved my life. Shout out to them. They saved my life. I'll never forget the technician. I'm a very jovial guy.
Right.
And so even when I'm on the gurney, I'm cracking jokes. And I'll never forget, I came out of the scan machine, and his face said it all.
Yeah.
And he couldn't tell me anything. He just had these really big eyes, and he ran out to get the doctor.
And you're just like, fuck.
Yeah. I'm like,
that's not good.
Because they know, but they
can't say anything. Right. And I'm like, dude, did my jokes go bad? Yeah. And he goes, I'll be right back, Mr. Morris. I'll be right back. And then all of a sudden, all these doctors start coming in. And they're pinning me up, and they're like, Mr. Morris, are you having trouble breathing? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have any issues breathing. But I'm thinking, in my mind, it's my adrenaline because now all of a sudden it went from a real jovial situation to getting serious. And then they kicked my wife out. Remember, this is COVID.
Oh gosh.
Did she hit anybody? Like,
Well, here's the thing. She started panicking. And as a husband, this is where I get a little emotional. As a husband, you're not going to tell my wife that I got a golf ball sized blood clot and they think I got a 1% chance of surviving and then you're going to send her home.
Bye.
Yeah.
That's no, I know your wife.
Yeah.
Well, and I can just imagine, just the straight up, I'm sorry, what did you just say to me? Just the full on, hold up.
She lost it for a little bit. I had asked everybody if they gave me and her 5 minutes, and they were like, "No, you're in dire straits.
You don't have time."
Right?
Oh
they thought I was dying right then, but just because of the size of it.
Insane.
And so I said, "Well, you can't kick her out until somebody tells me what's going on because she's my healthcare proxy."
Right. Yeah.
So they all the doctors came in, and then the head doctor came in, Dr. Terry Norton, who is still my cardiologist. Shout out to you. He comes in and he says, "Mr. Morris, he says, you have a golf ball sized blood clot in your lung. It's called a pulmonary embolism." Wow. He goes, "We have to work on you now." He says, "Because if anything goes wrong, he goes, even if you shift in the bed the wrong way, that clot can go from your lung and go into your heart.
Right.
He says, you probably have a 1% chance of surviving the night if we don't get started on heparin and start naming all these drugs. So my mind's going all over the place. My wife's crying.
Right.
And I said, okay, no problem. So he left. He gave my wife and I 2 minutes to talk. First words to her, we prayed. You know, we have a family of faith.
Right.
And then my next words to her was, if anything happens to me, you call Jason Strickland.
Right.
That was it. I said, if anything happens to me, you call Jason Strickland.
I love it.
Because,
just a side note, that's not his attorney. That's legit his insurance agent.
That's right.
He's also my life insurance agent.
I said,
so
anything happens to me, you call Jason Strickland.
I get that. 100%.
So I gave her my phone. And she left because she had to leave because of COVID.
Right.
So the whole night.
I just can't imagine that. Like, just gut-wrenching.
So they take me. So now I'm in the emergency room. Now they got to take me up to the ICU. So at this point in COVID, you had the COVID ICU and you had the regular ICU.
Right.
And so they're like, oh, we got this guy, 6'3", 320 pounds. So they think I'm obese.
Right.
And they're like, all right. So I go up and then I'll never forget the nurse. She goes, oh, he's not fat. He's just a big guy. He could have played for the Gamecocks. I told you this is going to be a crazy story.
Oh my God.
She's like, he's not fat. You don't need the big gurney. He's just a big guy.
Big gurney. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I could see somebody coming through the door
Yeah.
and I was being like, you don't need the big
You don't need the big
gurney.
gurney. And then the fact that I heard it, I was like,
Right.
oh, damn, they really did think I was
Jesus.
obese. Nevertheless.
Oh my God.
So we get there and they start prepping me with all the drugs and everything and it got emotional because I'm looking at all these people working on me,
Right.
And then your mortality versus you start to wonder what's going on. And I'll never forget, I prayed to God. I was like, Lord, if this is my time to go. I'm like, dang, God, I got 3 daughters. I didn't walk any of them down the aisle. My daughter Stevie at that time, she was like 8.
Yeah.
All that stuff starts flashing in your mind. But I felt peace when I was like, well, if it's my time to go, I lived a damn good life.
Yeah.
100%. And people like it's so funny when you really get to that place where you're like, life and death is right there.
Right.
You realize what's important. Working hard is great, having a career is great, but when that was all said and done, I was thinking about my family and my friends and really trying to figure out if I was going to bounce back from this. So fast forward, they get the procedure done. I was in ICU for probably about 12 days.
Yeah. Wow,
and that was tough because I had no visitors. Still COVID.
Yeah.
My wife would come up. They would have her video chat with me, or like if we got a nice nurse, she'd sneak her in and put like scrubs and a mask and stuff on her. And so that was tough. But it also strengthened my marriage because those vows you take where you say till death do you part, you never realize how close death is
all the time
until you presented with it. So our marriage got stronger. We realized not to waste time. So for all the couples out there
taking things for granted.
Don't because any day you never know what can happen. And I was not expecting this before this happened. I was healthy, things were fine.
Yeah, you were doing great. Like you had changed over to like
I was
veganism,
a vegan, everything.
like you were doing all these things.
I was trying to be the best me I could be, and with COVID, I was like, hey, let's you're home, let's make it happen. So I miraculously survived. I went through 4 operations. Most of them were on my legs, a lot of vein damage. I don't know if you guys have ever seen varicose veins on a black person. It is not pretty. It is not pretty at all.
It's not pretty on anyone.
No, it's not.
I mean,
especially on black skin.
It's one of those things.
It looks like a crack.
Doesn't work.
It looks like a crack asphalt. It's really bad. So I had to deal with that. So emotionally, it was bothering me, because I wasn't me.
Right.
And that's the part where, I went through PT. That was tough.
Yeah.
And, it just was hard, man, just trying to get to this area of my life where I survived something tragic. And then it's like, how do I move on? And I remember when I came home from the hospital, I had an episode in the car. Now, my wife, she's a tall woman, but she's not a big woman. And I'm bigger than her. And I fell out the car.
Yeah.
And she couldn't pick me up. And
Yeah.
I felt helpless.
Yeah.
I remember she had to get like 3 of our neighbors to come to the house and kind of help us. And I'm crying like a baby. I'm like, Lord, why is this happening? I want to be me.
I just imagine her just like throwing her
I
hoodie
know.
up on her shoulder,
Like,
like,
just be like, I got you.
Yeah.
Better or worse. Like,
She would have if she could, but,
Right,
but
you
then
know.
she would have been in Lexington Medical Center.
Right, and then she would have just crumbled. Like,
But mentally, I was not the person you're seeing right now. I was
Yeah.
done, and I just was trying to figure out like how do I get through this? Because now I'm on a medication for the rest of my life. I have to take Eliquis. I had to take some other drugs,
Right.
and that was something that kind of threw me for a loop. But nevertheless, I survived it. So here we are, 3 years later, and I can relate to somebody who's gone through something challenging in their body where they need to see someone to help them to be the best.
And recoup and recover.
So
and,
you've helped me
there's a trend that goes
tremendously
along
with
that.
the post-op surgery because I never knew, like for a year and a half, and I could really just punch myself because for a year and a half, I could have been seeing you.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to tough it out and try to figure out. But my shoes weren't I couldn't wear hard bottom shoes anymore because of the pain in my heel.
Right.
The blood clotting issues, I had to wear compression socks now. So now I look like the old man at the barbecue.
Those white shoes and the
love
socks,
it.
I know.
My whole life changed.
Yeah.
But I never knew that you guys did post-op massages because with the scar tissue damage and all those things, that was what changed my life.
All of those things. And that's something that, people, it's really hard to minimize and compartmentalize what you do in a very small window, right? And people are always like, oh, give me a quick blurb about how you're different. And it's just like, okay. It's really hard to do that. And it's hard to really encompass something like this into something just this very small thing in a commercial or in a podcast even. It's you could just expound on this for so long, you know, and especially something like what you said where you were like, I wasn't me and I didn't know how to get back to me. And there's something so helpless in a way with that feeling because you don't know what to do with it and it's very frustrating and there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of grief and there's a lot of and PTSD. That was something that I took a class in this probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, where, they were talking about PTSD and massage therapy and how massage and that touch, that safe touch that, you're kind of helping to retrain your body to kind of operate on its full capacity again. Because you're resetting neurological transmitters and things like that. You're resetting those mechanoreceptors and those pain receptors and things like that. And you're kind of just teaching it's okay. And it's incredibly comforting when you have somebody that you can trust and that isn't going to let anything bad happen to you in any form while you're in their presence. And that's something that I know we strive for here, to have an atmosphere where when people come in and they're injured or they're post-op or they're, just having a really hard day or whatever it is, we very much try to make this an incredibly welcoming and safe feeling environment where because it's vulnerable. We've talked about this before. You're literally getting naked. I don't care if you're leaving underwear on or whatever. That little piece of fabric ain't stopping anything.
It really
But
ain't.
that's what I'm saying is that's the whole thing is you're working on people in a very vulnerable situation. And when you're dealing with things like PTSD and you're dealing with trauma, whether it's from a car accident or abuse, anything like that. I know we've had people on these tables tell us just horrific stories, and it's really hard for us as therapists to separate from that and kind of not get emotionally involved and not want to just go out and kick major ass. I can't tell you how many times somebody's told me something and I'm like, no, fucking what? Where are they? I want to go out and I don't even hardly know this person, but I'm just like, hell no, not
or
on
you
my
just want
watch.
to be like,
I know. Actually, somebody asked me in our BNI meeting today, and we'll touch on that in a second too. But Joel comes up to me. Joel comes up to me, and he kind of gives me a side hug, and I was like, "Oh, hey, friend," and I gave, and he's like, "Would it be weird if I asked you if you could do that in a session?" He's like, like, not in a, like, weird way. He's like, but just, like, you know, he's like, you give such great hugs. And, like, is there hug therapy? Is that a thing?
I feel like if you have to preface it with, like, is it weird? Then it's weird.
Definitely weird. You know, and I was like, I mean, I'll kind of do a lot of things for money, but like I'm gonna charge you for it. Like, but and it's funny because I'm pretty sure that there is like such a thing as like snuggle therapy or cuddle therapy, like in California, because you know,
right?
You know, the land of all the things where you're just like, really?
It's like all the things happen out there.
Always, you know, if it's weird, it's either Florida or California. Like that's, I mean, I love y'all, I do, but y'all kind of weird.
Hilarious.
There are no rules.
No rules. It's the land of angels. Okay, city of angels. But that's something that, you know, because it releases all that dopamine and that serotonin and things like that. So, you know, you hug people and release that. You touch people and release that, and extended pressure and rhythmic pressure and things like that really help your brain to settle into these patterns that are calming, and that can help you cope with things, you know, moving forward. And I know we've made pretty big strides.
We made big progress. You got me back in the gym. That was something that wasn't happening. And
I remember the first time I busted out the IASTM tools, I was just like, I'm like grabbing them, and they're stainless steel, and it's like ching ching ching, and
he's like, what are you doing?
I was like, just lay there.
Lay there.
Know what you're doing.
Just breathe.
I was like,
He's
okay.
Like,
trying to look.
I'm like, just breathe and relax your butthole. Ching 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 ching, and he's just like, oh my god.
But
we have a lot of fun.
But you helped me out because, like I said, I wasn't going to the gym for a while because I couldn't really run. Like I used to, not that like I ran marathons or anything, but I like running because for me, running or fast walking, that's a way to get up a sweat and you feel great afterwards. And I couldn't do that because my heel was on fire. Yeah. And so you changed my life because here's what I was trying to do before I came to you.
Right.
I was trying to massage it myself.
And I don't laugh like that to be condescending.
No,
by any
I was
means.
trying to do it myself.
It's funny because I can picture it because I know like where we work and where your scars are, and all I can see is Steven like this.
I look hard,
like reach stuff, and just being like, I can't.
My leg can't even go that high.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm starting to like cramp up because
there
I'm
you go.
bent
See,
over,
that's
and
exactly,
that's what happens.
So I was trying to massage it myself, and then
shape.
I would ask my wife to do it. She wouldn't do it right, and then she just recently had surgery, so she couldn't put the pressure on that I needed. Yeah. So I was like, I gotta call Erin, and it wasn't like I gotta call you out of like I didn't want to call you. I gotta call you because I needed somebody to make it a priority.
Like I need to actually start.
Correct.
Doing
so
this,
when you do it, when
I do what I do.
When you massage me, there we go. When you.
Oh my!
I told you should have had me.
Like, I knew it got loud in there.
I knew you should have had me on here.
Sometimes I stand outside and I'm like, what is happening in there with Steven?
When you massage me, you help me to be able to have some sense of normalcy until the next time I see you.
I touch your soul. No.
So
I breathe new life into it.
It's needed. I like if I could talk to anybody else that's ever been through anything where your body just doesn't. Because remember, when you're in like your 20s and your 30s, you feel like you're invincible.
Oh, I'm still there. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were in my 30s.
She's like, first off, I'm younger than everyone in here. So
just want to make sure that's clear.
You geezers. But there's gonna come a time in your life where your body is gonna kind of betray you.
For sure.
Mine was Tuesday.
All right.
Literally. No, I swear to, this happens all the time. And that's why when I stood up today and I was like, so you know how sometimes you come to me because your body doesn't work? Yeah. Well, I go and see Dr. Yoder when my body doesn't work. It's my chiropractor. Calm down. Not the gynecologist. So
or the psychiatrist.
No.
Maybe that's what we
when
need,
my brain doesn't work, not when my body doesn't work. That's different. Anyway, so my SI joint, which is that little bad boy right there. I don't know how I managed to fuck it up, but it's like slightly twisted right now.
Oh, wow.
And towards the right side. So I've got all this pain like just right here. And when I walk, like every time my heel hits the ground, it's just like, and I'm just like, son of a. And then of course, my clients are like, are you angry? What's wrong? And I'm like, no, I'm just leaning and it hurts. And I'm just like, eh. So yeah, I have to, same thing. It's like your body doesn't work, and it messes with you.
It does.
It's so frustrating. I have a client right now that she has terminal brain cancer. Oh, wow. And she is, and I don't even want to say older, because she's not older, but she's in her 60s, early 60s. And she doesn't have that much longer and is about to go on hospice. And, I've been going to her house, and I just work on her arms and her legs. And she can't use her left side because the tumor is pressing on those nerves that control her left side. So she can feel it, but she can't move it. And so she can feel pressure, she can feel temperature, and so the circulation isn't doing great things. So it's super cold, so I take the hot stones and all. Y'all, this woman, I cry every time I leave on my way home. And it's not because I'm sad, it's because she is so luminous. It's like what you were saying earlier. Like, she gets it. She values the time that she's got left. She's got people from church stopping in. She's got her kids staying with her every night and all this stuff. Like, she is just living her best life the best way she can. But she'll even say sometimes, she's like, it's so frustrating to not be able to use my left side. Like, she's like, this is so, I can't do anything for myself. And it's so, like, she's like, it just pisses me off. And she's this little Southern lady. She's like hilarious. And she's like, and it just pisses me off. And I'm just like, oh my God, I love you.
Well, one of two things always happens. Either you're going to get really, really angry, or you're going to be really, really grateful. Like, I've seen both aspects. And so when you think about people that get in like car accidents, motorcycle, like people that like, because like I said, life's going to happen to all of us at the same time. And when we go through these things, it's like, okay, well, how do I bounce back from this? Or you usually get into a really, really hard funk, and it's hard to come back from that. And what you guys do, it helps, man. I mean, every little bit helps. And for that lady to know that she's terminally ill, that there's really...
I mean, there's...
Like, every day is a gift for her now. Because when you hear those words, hey, you got 5 months to live, 6 months to live, well... how do I make sure that I make those days count?
Right. You know, and I feel like if you don't, like if you are angry or you're bitter or you're just, some kind of way, which I can totally understand feeling, like I can't even imagine what that is like. And, so, but that's in my mind, it's a waste. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of all those things that you could be, saying or doing or whatever. And I mean, obviously she's not like getting out and doing a whole lot. But, I mean, she's watching all these movies that, like, she's never watched with her girls. She's got twin daughters that are, like, grown and married and have their own kids, and they're all coming and they're doing all this stuff. And it's just so, like, she's so joyful, you guys. Like, it's so, like, it is heartbreaking, but it's also so uplifting all at the same time, And so it's like you're there, and I'm just like, keep your shit together, Erin. Like, just keep your shit together, And I'm massaging her. And
there's this oil on my back. Those are my tears,
right? But I'm like working on her, and her little dog is such a cute little dog. But he like comes and he bites my fingers because I'm touching her, right? And so like it's licking all the oil, and I'm like, it's safe oil, I promise. Like, your dog's not gonna die. It's not gonna poison him. Don't worry. And she's laughing. Like, she's laughing about it. And I'm just like, oh my God. And he's like nibbling on me. And I'm like, it's okay, little doggy, And I'm like, don't lose your shit. Like, keep it together,
Yeah. I got to go.
Dom's got shit to do.
But, listen, great hands.
Oh, yes.
I'm the only one leaving. Steven's going to stay and hang out with Erin. So you guys stick around, listen to the rest of the story and all the stuff that happened to him, his near-death experience.
Huge.
Crazy huge. And then Erin and her B&I love brought you guys together.
I like B&I too.
So Dom left us because, she's a quitter, obviously.
She did quit. She did quit on us.
Okay, to be fair.
But she's busy.
To be fair, she is. She's an area director for our region, and she was up super early doing her chapter meeting, and then I think she went to like 2 other chapter meetings today too.
She needs a massage.
Thursdays and all of us do. We are such assholes, I swear, because we'll sit there and be like, oh my God, you need to do this and this and this to keep you healthy, like stretch and drink water and do all the things. I haven't had a massage in 6 months, like minimum. Like, it has.
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
every time I put myself on the schedule, like, I'll put myself
you don't
on one of the
force them to
girls'
like. I'll be like, hey,
no,
I
I like find an opening in their schedule, and then I'll put myself on it, and then like a client will call and be like, hey, I need you, and I'm like, okay, and I'll take myself off the schedule and everything.
So kind.
I just
me,
like
I
money.
would still be.
Like, I'm so kind. I have bills, Steven. Like,
she's like, my bills, my body can wait. These bills,
I mean,
Dominion energy.
That's the thing. I'm like, it is not. inexpensive to run things. Like, I got bills. And so if somebody's like, I need you, I'm like, okay. I'm here. I know, right? Steven's like, so now? Like,
I got you.
after the podcast, Steven.
All right, no problem.
But so, y'all have heard us talk about BNI before, and we probably should give a little bit of background on that. I think Dom and I have touched on it a little bit before, but it is Business Networking International. So
Correct.
it is an international,
that is how we
worldwide group. This is how we met. It's how we met Scott, our producer. Woo! Palmetto Moose Productions. Whoop, whoop.
He's okay.
He's pretty awesome. We like Scott. But yeah, that's how all of us met.
Yep.
I mean, it really is a truly phenomenal group. And Steven's been in forever. Like, you were in New York.
I joined after 9/11.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you've truly been in for a hot second.
Yeah, 22 years. I joined after 9/11. I got suckered into BNI.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My college roommate was the mortgage person in the group. And he was like, Steven, I need you to sub for me in my group. And I'm like, what does that mean?
What group? What are you talking about?
What are you trying to get me to go to?
Are you trying to get, what kind of sub are you talking about? Like,
and his group met in the morning. And so it was 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no.
And most New Yorkers don't drive. We take the train and the bus everywhere.
Right.
So I had to take a bus and 2 trains to get to this meeting. I left my house at 5 o'clock in the morning.
No.
November.
Just no.
New York City, 30 degrees.
Not happening.
I got there, I was pissed. I got there, I was pissed. But it was cool. They gave me a cup of coffee, which that's what starts my day.
Helps. Yeah.
And then I watched the magic of BNI. And like I said, this was right after 9/11. So New Yorkers were nice.
Oh, yes,
we were nice for like a year.
Yeah, they really were. Like, they were all like kumbaya, like,
Yes.
we're gonna come together, and it's like, great. And that's right. It was like just a magical time, in history. And then, of course,
And then they went back to
everybody went
back
right
to
back
normal.
to everybody went back to normal, literally. Like, it's crazy because we just had 9/11,
Right, we had
the
the anniversary. Yep.
and I was like scrolling through Facebook, and I swear every single year there are less and less posts and remembrances and things like that. And it was just kind of like, I didn't even realize what day it was until about halfway through the day. And I'm here and I'm like punching something in, and I'm like, 9/11. Oh shit, it's 9/11, and I'm like, oh damn.
And then that's when you have the people like, we will never forget.
Right.
That's what you
and
forgot.
I'm like, but you forgot.
Exactly. It's like, you forgot.
And I get it. Life happens and all the things. And it's one of those things where I was just having a conversation with Whitney, one of our other BNI partners. And I was just like, sometimes I feel so bad because there are people who have these like really awful, horrible things going on in their lives. And I'm over here like, oh, I'm poor or whatever, like I got bills to pay, or some minor inconvenience that just pisses me off to no end, and I'm like, I am such an ungrateful schleb. Like, this is BS. Like, I did. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, these people are going through this thing. And she's like, I know, I do the same thing. And she works with cancer patients for a living. She works for the American Cancer Society.
She can never say she's ungrateful.
Right. Like, that's the thing. And she's like, no, I totally get what you mean. And I was like, but the thing is, all of our life, like the stuff that's happening to us is so intensely important to us because it's your world.
Correct.
It's your life, And so, yes, in the big picture, it seems minor or whatever, but in your world, it's like super intense.
Oh yeah, because it's only happening to you.
Yeah, and like my mom was telling me something about that like long ago, when Addison was little, because she was like, "Oh, you just wait until she's a teenager." Like, my mom was throwing some like voodoo shit on me.
Oh yeah, it's coming
like,
up. Like,
you
too.
just wait. Coming up. Have you met that Sass Factory? So yeah, she's like, "You just wait because this is gonna be a thing," and I'm like, "Whatever, Mom. Like, I'll just tell her like I went through it too, and it's not a big deal." And my mom looked at me and she's like, I said that to you.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, but you didn't. And she's like, And I was like, oh, shit. And then I realized.
Isn't it crazy when you know you're becoming your mom?
And then I realized, like, yes, we went through it, and we can tell them, like, look, the world's bigger, and this isn't going to last forever, and in 3 years it's not going to matter. But right then in that moment, that's the most important thing to them because that's what's happening to them. Same thing with these injuries and these illnesses and this PTSD and all these things that people are going through.
Right.
Like, you can never minimize that, and that's something we have to watch out. When we're working on people, like, we can't minimize, oh, you're going to be okay.
Right.
You can't say that.
Right.
Because in that moment, this is the most important thing that's going on in their
Got it.
world. And you have to be empathetic to that, and you have to be able to hold some piece of compassion for them and recognize like, oh shit, this is heavy for them right now.
So then here's my question for you. Like, when you have someone that, let's say they've been through like a motorcycle accident and they've got to get, they got to get treated, or they need to, like, how do you know how to touch them? Like, how does that work? Because as the patient, I know what I need, like, but I don't know how to relay that to you.
Exactly. And it all depends on the nature of the injuries and things like that. And we work really closely with permission with physical therapists, orthopedists, things like that. So we have a lot of experience with a lot of different types of things. But also there are tons of educational courses that we take outside of what our licensure requires. So South Carolina only requires 12 hours every 2 years of continuing education for us, which is bullshit, because that's like nothing. It's nothing. 2 years, 12 hours.
But that's the minimum.
Right.
Okay.
And there is no maximum. Like, you can do as much as you want. But it's expensive. It costs a good amount of money, because these people who are doing these courses and everything, like, this is how they make their living.
Got it.
And they don't really hands-on with people too much anymore. Some of them have private clinics, but a lot of them travel around the country and do their classes, you know. But that's how you get that experience, and you learn how to work with stuff. Like, I've taken classes on how to work with amputees. I've taken classes on how to work with children. I'm a certified pediatric therapist. So and that entails like children with special needs, cerebral palsy, not Parkinson's, that's
autism,
adults, but
like
autism, things like that. There are a ton of different things, Down syndrome, stuff like that. Infants, like, we can work on infants.
Most people would not know this information. I'm telling you that right now.
No, and that's the thing. It's like, so in the meeting, it's so hard to compress this down into, this little bit of information. And I'm doing my presentation next week. So it's even harder when you have like a little bit more time, because then you're like, oh, I can expound on that. And it just grows, and you're like, all right, I need like 8 hours. Like, I need so much time to really get into the depth of what it is that we do.
Got it.
And that's what makes this practice so different and all encompassing. And that's something that, like, I told you one time, like, sometimes I feel like a total fraud, and you were like, what? Like, like, you were like freaking out, and you were about to be like,
not licensed?
You're not licensed. And it's like, no, it's more, the world kind of looks at massage therapists as like,
well, they look at it as
tugs,
they look at it as,
or a luxury.
You got the skeevies that look at it one way, but then you have other people that look at, oh, well, that's just where my wife goes to relax and spend my money.
The ladies at lunch,
correct.
And it's looked in a lot of ways as a very luxurious kind of thing. And there are entities that are that.
Specialize
there are
in that,
spas, that's the thing. And there are some very high-end places that are really, truly fantastic. And I encourage everybody to go and experience one, because it's a whole nother level of taking care of yourself. But, what we do and what other therapeutic massage therapists, or where their lean is therapy, and clinical based kind of stuff. We're based in science. There's so much research that we read and do and look into and everything for fascial therapies and things like that, that base what we do, like, that guides what we do. And we're very goal oriented. Like, we have an ultimate goal. We want to see function restored. We want to see mobility restored. We want to see some kind of change after we do what we do for however long we determine that we're going to do it. So that's kind of in a nutshell, like, why it's different. And that's so hard for people to wrap their head around when they've always been like, oh, you're a masseuse or a masseuse. No, I am a massage therapist, AKA physiotherapist. Erin, if you're nasty, like, all the things, right? Because I work really hard, and I've got tons of education, and I've got all, the education to back it up, and and it's really frustrating when people are like, so you rub oil on people for a living? And I just want to, like, throat punch the shit out of them. I'm not even kidding you. Like, I see red and, like, assault charges. Like, that's what I'm just like, I know. And it's like, it's so frustrating though, because it's like somebody going up to, a dermatologist, like, top of their field, and they're like, so you pop pimples for a living?
Dr. Pimple
You know,
Popper.
right? And I know, and this woman like has made her career out of that.
She's made her
like
big bond
she
money.
is like she's good at what she
That's
does.
right.
But that's the whole thing. It's like you're taking it and you're just crushing it down to like the most base.
Right,
thing
you're
that it is,
compartmentalizing it.
and you're making it not important, and you're just really, really, really taking that person's whole life work and just throwing it in the shit.
Right.
So
they don't know, like you said, they
Right,
don't
they
know the
have no
amount of
idea.
hours that you have to put into these different
And
practices.
so I try really hard not to get mad at people when they're like, oh, I need a masseuse or I need to go to a massage parlor. And like some therapists get really pissed off about that.
Right.
And like will
People
tell
use
you,
the word
you know,
massage parlor when they call you?
Oh my God, all the time.
Really?
Like, yes.
Is this the massage parlor?
Yes. And
Really?
And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It depends on what you're looking for because, you know. And I try not to get offended at that because, again, it's an education thing.
Right,
Like,
they
people
just don't know.
They just don't know. And trying to get
Don't call it a
us
massage
taken
parlor.
there, you know, us getting taken seriously in like the medical world, you know,
Right.
like we're trying to let people know that like we can be a really important part of your health and wellness team.
Right.
It's a it's
a joint
just
effort.
a joint effort. It's like, you know, we can communicate with people on a level that like we understand what's going on with you.
Got it.
On probably a much deeper level than you realize that we do, you know. And not every therapist does, you know. I mean, we are not all created the same. Our educational levels aren't all the same because it's all about what you put into it.
Correct.
You know, and that's kind of the cool thing about it is I love what I do and I have a passion for what I do. So I'm constantly trying to learn new things so that I can do it better.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I'm constantly reading new research because things are changing all the time. Like the medical world is exploding.
Right.
And they're constantly learning new things about the body and how it works and biomechanics and all these things. And the brain is a huge, huge part of that because that's just a giant computer that tells everything what to do.
Correct.
Right. So, and, you know, chem lab. But... You know, when you understand how touch affects that
Right.
and how, you know, all of that works together, then you can really build and compound on something truly amazing that, like, you know, people get up off the table and they're like, holy, like, I had no idea I could actually feel this good.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know.
I never
And-
thought you were going to massage my heel. And when you
Right,
did, I was
right.
like, oh my God,
Right.
that feels so good.
You're just like, I don't know why that feels so good.
I was like,
but
he's like, yeah, you got a lot of scar tissue. I was like, I know. But when I left for weeks, I was amazed.
And
man.
and I mean that's the whole thing is
Yeah.
like once you understand how all of it kind of works and you can start making those changes, then you start getting converts. You get
Correct.
people who drink the Kool-Aid, if you will, and they're just like, I'm never not coming back, you know,
Right.
and they really, you know, I want to come back every week, and I'm like, okay, that's expensive. Like, calm down,
Right.
you know, I'll take your money, but whatever.
She's got bills.
I
She's
do. I got bills, but that's not the purpose, and
Right.
and you know that's something that I was talking to the Cumulus guy,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that was visiting, and you know, I was like, our purpose is not. I mean, it is to make money because it's a business,
Right.
and that's part of
Right.
what we do. But that's not our driving force.
Right.
That's not. You know, I'm not here to become a multi-bajillionaire. I mean, I'm here for world domination. Don't get me wrong, but. It's not on a monetary scale.
Okay.
It's you know, I'm trying to make all of you fuckers mobile for as long as possible. That's what I'm trying to do. Mobility, flexibility, and functionality.
I
That's
got
my
it.
goal, you know.
Now I'm seeing you get like when I came today, you got a lot more guys than I've seen in more recent years.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
guys were the ones that kind of made massage therapy like kind of skeevy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
you know.
You guys y'all are terrible.
Yeah.
Not you personally.
Oh, yeah,
but
thank
like
you. Thank you for taking me
the
out of that
male
loop.
population
Yes.
in general has kind of screwed the pooch.
But I see a lot more guys come
Yeah.
in, and that's big because when you look at it, like men, we're kind of weird. Just we think of massages so differently. But you got guys out there that are in construction, guys out there that are police officers, like that. They got to realize they got to take care of their body and massage and working out those joints and those nerves.
Yeah.
That's I think that's why we die early
perform
because
better if you're taking care of your body.
and, and like I said, I think that's why we die early because we're so proud to, you know, be vulnerable and get naked and realize, hey, you know, I need this help.
I think y'all die early because y'all do dumb shit.
Well, we do.
Like I've seen
We don't even
some
go to the doctor.
Dumb shit, you know. Like I'm gonna span this ladder over this, you know, 40-foot drop, and I'm just gonna
make it.
stand here and paint something. I'll be fine. And it's like, oh my god, you know.
We are dumb.
I don't know what that is, but I'm pretty sure everywhere in the world where a man's gotten injured from doing some sort of hold my beer situation. There's been a woman like, don't do it.
Situation.
Don't do it. I don't know why we were blessed with the common sense to kind of be like, are you done? Like, why are you doing that? Like, that's not smart. Like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we rear children. Like, all day long, we're like, I told you not to do that, and now you're bleeding. Okay, well, tough. Like, shake it off.
Now, do you guys work on like some of these younger athletes that feel that they're invincible?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. People at the high school and
high schools, middle school. I mean, like literally any age range. I just, if they're under 15, I'm like, parent needs to stay in here, kind of thing, just liability purposes. But it really is important, especially for our younger athletes, because their bodies are still growing.
Correct.
And your growth plates are still moving, like everything's still in transition, and that, while making you a little more flexible and a little bit easier to bounce back in some instances, can also cause some really serious injury and long-term effect.
Okay.
So you get these kids that are super serious about their sport, right? Gymnasts, that start when they're really young. They're like 3-4 years old, and they are in the gym all the time, and they're just like go, 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 whether it's for college athletics or Olympic hopefuls, whatever it is. And, you see them when they're in their like 30s, and they've got joint issues and all kinds of pain and everything. Yeah, because and all that stretching, that flexibility, because they stretch themselves to a hyperextended state on a regular basis as part of their conditioning, and that wears on the ligaments and the tendons and the connections for everything, and it really can wreak havoc on a body, know, and the injuries that they sustain are not soft injuries. These are not like, oh, you sprained your ankle. No, they dislocated their hip, and it was like up here. I mean, these are serious things.
I think I have a problem with my ankle.
I think you tore your Achilles. I think there's something wrong, and your foot's facing the other direction, and it's like, I think you're right. Like, that's not normal. Hold on.
It's not supposed to look like that.
Like, it's a bad thing, and it's a tough sport. You've got your football players, and they're out there like literally using their bodies as
weapons.
Like, let me Hulk smash. Like, that's the whole thing. Every time I watch a football game, that's all I'm thinking. Hulk smash. Especially college games, because those guys are beasts.
Yeah.
But Dominique loves athletes.
Okay.
She loves to work on athletes.
Okay,
because, it's challenging, it's fun. There's they're usually pretty upbeat people. They're pretty fun to work with. But, it's a puzzle. It's always a puzzle, because you're trying to figure out not just the root of the issue, but where else has it, affected, because there is nothing happens in a vacuum in your body. And if one thing is off, like my SI joint has been all kinds of jacked for 3 days now. And while I got adjusted and that helped some, it's still funky. So it's causing me to like walk a little bit different and do things a little bit different. And I can feel it in my shoulders and my neck. I can feel it in my leg. Yeah, because it's just, you're adjusting things, and that's not where your body normally is. So you're stretching muscles that aren't normally stretched. You're, utilizing muscles in ways that they just aren't normally used. And so they're tired and they're a little pissed off. They're like, that's not my job. It's not my job. Why are you making me do this? Like, Cindy made me come in to work to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, oh my God, so-and-so didn't show up to do their job. And now, and that's 100%. They're like little angry coworkers, that's exactly what they are. And that's exactly what you're doing is, your body compensates. Your brain does it unconsciously. Like, you don't even think about, oh, I'm going to shift my weight over here. You don't do it. Your brain does it, because your brain's like, you got to function. You got to do these things.
Got it.
So we're going to just reroute this, little signal,
It's so funny that you say that, because with my wife, she's actually in physical therapy now. She's going to be coming to see you. She had an issue where her hand was swollen and turning purple from the rotator cuff surgery. And so we were trying to figure out, well, how can this be swollen because of what you had done on your rotator cuff? And so when she went to Lauren Montgomery, who's in physical therapy, one of Lauren's physical therapists was working on her shoulder. She's like, ooh, keep doing that. The pressure from my hand is being released. And I was, I'm not supposed to be telling your business, honey, but I am. and she's like, ooh, keep doing that. And then so Lauren came and was like, hey, I'm going to try something. And it was amazing that something done here was affecting this. That blew my mind. But like you said, it's all connected.
Every single last bit of it. It's like, you sing that song when you're a kid, like the knee bone's connected to the hip bone and all that stuff, right? totally true. Like, they're all connected to each other.
We're teaching the kids the right stuff.
We're teaching them on a very basic level the right things, you know. But it really is true. Is everything is absolutely interconnected, and then you throw your structure into it, so your soft tissue and your bones. But then you've also got to throw in all your systems: your digestive, your reproductive, your lymphatic, your neurological symptom, cardio, respiratory, all of that, all of them are working together, and then your brain's up here like dance puppets and throwing all the chemicals out, like, oh, you're super stressed, here's a little epinephrine to make it worse, like all these things, corticosteroids, you're gonna hold on to fat, have fun with that, like your body produces these things because of the outside stimuli that you have enacting on you. So whether that's pain, whether that is environmental stimuli, things like that, high amounts of noise cause stress, mental stress, things like that. So, you can have a job that isn't necessarily like mentally stressful. Like, it's not like you're a high power attorney who's got people's lives in their hands. Right. But you could work in an environment that is a high stress environment, and that's going to have a very similar effect on your body physiologically. So it's a very... That's why our intakes are the way they are, is because we go through and we're like, we want to know everything. Right.
The more we know, the more we can know.
Give me your diary. Like, tell me all the things, And because the more I know about you and your day-to-day life, the more I can fine-tune what I'm doing in here and the suggestions that I'm giving you, like, for you moving forward. Got it. So, and again, I don't know how to scale that down into an 8-minute situation for BNI. Like, I don't know how to do that.
You're going to be fine. Well, that's why
I'm going to get up there and be like, don't ask me for a hand job. That's what I'm going to do. Scott's like, Jesus Christ.
This is me fading right now.
Right? Scott's like, oh my God.
But you will be able to pay your bills if you do say that.
I'm just saying. Like, that's not, Scott's like, my commercial is being played that I made. Don't say that.
I hope you do.
Oh my God. I'll be like,
help me be a winner.
Well, that is true. That is true, But that's, again, that's one of those things that just kind of, again, you just feel sometimes like you're spinning your wheels and that people don't get you. Like, you can say all the things and people are like, oh, that's nice. That's so nice. Or, that's nice. But then it's like, later on, you're like talking to them and they're like, oh, can you XYZ? And you're like, I just said that.
Correct. Because they're not paying attention. No. They're not paying attention. And that's why, until I started coming to see you, I just had to comfort myself. Right. And sometimes people just have to get it that way. And
that's the hardest part, is getting them in here, because then you have people like Eric who are like, every time she touches me, it hurts. And I'm like, would you quit telling people that? You wuss. It's your fault.
He says that for real?
Yes, he tells me that all the time, because people will be like, "Oh, well, you probably get massages all the time, right? Because we live together and all." And they're like, "Oh, that must be great. You must get massages all the time." And he's like, "No, she's not allowed to touch me." And I'm like, "Dude, just because you're a wuss,
you're killing my business."
I know. I mean, like, no, you don't tell people things like that. And he's like, what? She hurts me.
That's like if somebody says, well, you're dating Eric, he's a mechanic. How's your car? And your response is going to be, well, every time I get in, it just blows up.
I don't take it there. Right, you know what I mean? Like, I don't take it there.
You're killing my business.
Right. It's like the closest person
Eric,
in the world
you should know better. You should know 100%. Better. You should be like, she's amazing.
And the thing is, I have to defend myself and be like, well, first off, because there's a list. I'm like, well, first off, he waits until he is in so much pain that when he comes in here, I could go, and he's going to be like, like.
So he's reactive, not proactive.
100%. All right. And he'll come in and he'll be like, babe, can you work on me for a minute? Like, when you have time, because it's just really bad. And I'm like, okay, yeah, just remind me. And then does he? No. He sits on the recliner and he falls asleep while he's watching TV. And I'm like, I thought you wanted me to. Okay, I'm going to bed. Bye.
And then when it's too late, it's like,
right. Yes, exactly. And I'm just like, you gotta stop, honey. I was like, if you'd let me work on you regularly,
Right.
it wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd feel a million times better, you know.
That's that pride. Remember when we talked about earlier, Conan the Barbarian.
That's right. Right. And he would. He's like, I'd rather just.
Yeah, he's gonna suck it up. He's gonna try to.
He's gonna suck it up until he comes to me and he's like, oh, and I'm like, tough shit, homie.
But I can't believe he says every time you touch me, Erin.
He does.
What would you
Not
do?
even kidding. And in front of people.
Every time I get in my car, it doesn't start.
Right? That's what I'm going to have to start saying. I'm 100% going to have to start
Like, you're
saying
killing
that.
my business. I really don't. I'm not a fraud. That's why you feel like a fraud.
That is.
It's your man.
It's his fault. It's his fault. I'm going to tell him that. Be like, you are costing me money. You're going to have to start paying my bills. Like, pay my bills.
That's right.
100%. But it was so fun talking to you.
It
always
fun
is fun.
The crazy part is this is how our massages are.
I know, 100%.
Right?
Everyone in the world who thinks that massages are like quiet and peaceful
No,
and
I don't
like
need that.
there are pan flutes and like waterfalls. No. I have some clients who are like, play this, and it's like put your grandma in the microwave music, and I'm just like, wah, you know, and I'm like, I can't. This is terrible, and I'm just like, nah. But Steven and I laugh our asses off
we
the
talk
whole
the whole time,
he's in
so.
here, and he's just amazing. And I'm so glad
Thank
that
you
you
for
came
having
to visit
me.
us to talk a little bit about your near death situation and all of that. And
I'm
we're so
still
glad
here,
that you're
so
still here. You know,
Thank you.
we're so
Thank you.
happy.
And I'm happy. I'm the second guest you've ever had on your podcast.
You are the second
I feel
guest.
really special.
You
the
are.
first guest I heard was like a chiropractor, so I'll forgive you.
It was Dominique's best friend.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I mean, we kind of had to roll with that.
Yeah, because I was like, what do they want to talk about credit card processing? But that was a whole nother story. But I'm so happy that you had me on.
Yeah.
This was
well,
fun.
I
and
loved it. It was great.
I love you, and I love what you guys are doing.
Well,
Thanks
you.
for having me.
We're gonna keep doing it. So, and if you love us and want us to keep doing all these things, you gotta like us, you gotta share us, you gotta follow us. You know, share us with all your friends. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to us on Spotify and iTunes. See, Dom, I don't need you for that. But we love you guys. We'll see you next time for episode 14 of Get Naked.